Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Relationship Advice for Women with the special segment we're doing this season called The Other Woman. We have Miss Jen here to tell her
You could just
testimony.
call me Jen.
Look, we have
That's
Miss
just my
Jen.
name on Facebook.
She's going to be sharing her testimony about her experience. So we're going to start with a set of questions, and you're just going to answer it. Sometimes that might sound a little bit redundant, but it is just so that you can kind of express anything that we may have missed from the previous questions. Okay. Is everything good on your end?
Yep, I'm good to go.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to start with the first question, and it's simple. How did you meet the man you were involved with?
I met him at work.
Okay, you met him at work. Okay. Yeah. And so did you know he was in a relationship or married? Was he married or just in a relationship?
So he was single when we met. I just did not know that he was an office whore.
Oh, okay. So he was an office whore. Okay, so he was single when you all met. And so, well, when did you find out that you were the other woman then?
I found out that I had like a little sinking feeling in my stomach that something wasn't right. I just couldn't really put my finger on it, but it probably was like maybe a year after it got started. I was like, I thought he might be cheating with somebody. I just didn't realize how in close proximity it was.
Okay, so was he having two relationships? So you were the other woman explain that to me.
Okay, so basically it was a bunch of us that were other women, right? But none of us knew about each other. So it was girls in his neighborhood. It was women at the building that we worked in. It was girls that he was meeting at the bar, girls he was introducing me to as, a friend. Wow. Like he was like, oh, this is my friend so-and-so. We might go to dinner or something. We run into somebody. He'd be like, that's my friend so-and-so. So it was a whole bunch of us that was the other woman.
Okay. And so before we had started the recording, you mentioned that this relationship started in 2010. Right. Okay. And then it ended in 2017. But what was your initial reaction when you realized that you were the other woman?
Oh my gosh. I was so devastated, but then it kind of all started to make sense, right? Like, hindsight being 2020, you're like, oh, well, when this happened, like now it kind of makes sense why he reacted the way he did, or why women were looking at me the way that they were, if that makes sense. So it just
what way did he react?
Oh, he was like a gaslighter. So like, I remember the instance where it was like, girl, leave this man alone. He was talking to someone that I thought was my friend, right? And I was walking down the street one day because I needed to get a new badge for work, and I work there part-time now, and he was working there, still working there full-time. When he came out the building, I saw him, and I didn't think anything of it. He looked back at me, stopped so we could talk. And the girl, I was like, oh, hey, boo, gave her a hug. And I was trying to figure out, why is she still standing right here, right? Like, you see I'm talking to somebody, excuse yourself. That's how I felt. And she still stood there. So I said, well, that's weird. And then I proceeded to talk to him. And then, like, the light bulb went off in my head and was like, she's another one. Right? He's talking to her, too. And so that evening, I was like, hey, because we had spent the evening before together and left each other that morning, right? And so I was like, hey, I need to ask you something. Are you messing with so-and-so? And his response was, why are we talking about so-and-so right now? And it was all I needed to know. Bruh, you know what? Give me my Netflix password back.
Right.
So
But
it
she
was,
was your friend?
I we had a mutual friend, so we were always hanging out together. So
Okay.
her and another friend of mine, we were always hanging out together. And before I even called the guy, I called my friend and I was like, "Hey, do you think her and him are messing with each other?" And she was like, "No, I don't think so." And we ended up get off the phone. Maybe like 15 minutes later, she was like, "You know what? He is always at her desk. So maybe." She was like, it kind of, I guess it just dawned on her, like, you know what? I do see him down in my side of the building quite often. So, I wouldn't be surprised. So that
And did
confirmed it
she
for me
know
right
that
there.
you all were dating?
Yes. And the reason why is because maybe a year or two before that, we were all going to the beach, and I was on the phone with him while we were headed to the beach. And I got off the phone with them, and they was like, I got off the phone with him, and my friend and the girl were like, "Who were you laughing with?" And I was like, "Oh, so and so." And I never use names ever, right? But that particular day, I used names, and because girls, we give guys nicknames, right? And so I used his real name. He has a very unique name, so it ain't like the name Michael where it could be 25 different Michaels. And
Right.
so it was in that moment that she knew, and that was in 2017. And we had been kikiing and laughing, was planning to go on trips together and everything. And whole time she knew. And I was just like, girl, no wonder if she was one of those, how women say, like, I don't have no friends. And
Mhm.
sometimes you might be like, oh, why you don't have no friends? That's why she don't have no friends, because she's sneaky. Because you
So
knew
was
for
he
2 years.
but was he dating
Hmm?
somebody else for 2 years? Cuz you said you was the other woman. So she was the other woman and you were the other woman cuz he was dating somebody else that
We were all the other woman. He was still dating. So, okay. We're all the other woman. I think there was one main girl, and I want to say that was his son's mother. Now, while I was messing with him, he started messing with another girl that sat next to me at work. And so we were all the other woman, right? There were multiple of us that were dealing with him at that time. I don't think most of us did not know about each other. And so for me, I think probably in like 2011, I started to have a feeling that he was messing with this girl at work. Because whole time I'm thinking that it's just me, but I started to think that he was messing with this girl at work because I kept kind of glancing over at her desk, and I would see that his name was popping up on her instant messenger, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, I mean, we do all work in the same office, so it's not abnormal. But I was just like, it's just a little bit too much. Um, so once and then I thought, well, she's engaged to get married, so she seemed like a good girl. So why would that? I don't think she would be messing with him. Like, maybe I'm tripping. Well, one day she
Mhm.
stopped wearing her engagement ring,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, I asked her, I said, oh, how's your wedding planning going? She kind of flashed her hand like to show me that she wasn't engaged anymore.
Mm.
And then a few months later, I remember I walked over to his desk and I was talking to him, and I said, I think she's pregnant, because her stomach kind of started like poking out. And he just gave me
Mhm.
this look. And I was like, well, that's weird that he looked at me like that. It's because he was the father. And
Really?
so she basically had
Wow.
called engagement because I was right. She had been messing with him. And so I think I left him alone. I was still messing with him because my self-esteem was very low back then.
Mhm.
So he would buy me a bag, buy me some shoes, and I'll be like, okay, I'll take you back. There was
Mhm.
never an apology, and I thought I was really quantifying my self-worth with material things.
Yeah, and so yeah, you kind of went into that like what attracted you to him despite his situation. It was because you felt worth something when he gave you a bag.
Like, oh, he really loves me because he's buying me, a Gucci bag, a Louis Vuitton bag. He's putting $5,000 in my bank account. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
was, that's what I was doing. So I was like excusing his behavior because I was reaping financial benefits from it.
Right. And that's another common theme. Um and so we're moving into like the background involvement and at what point did you realize that you had less control in the relationship than you thought?
I think I probably, when we were supposed to go to, he was going to New York for work, and he had asked me to come with him, and I said yes. And then he decided that he didn't want me to come to New York anymore. And then I found out that it was another girl who he had come to New York with him. And I found that out through just, how coworkers just be talking, and somebody outed the business and not knowing that they outed the business.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I really don't have any kind of a say so. I'm not respected in this situation by any means. So it was off and on. So it was off and on once they had their baby. She had moved in with him, and I was still sleeping with him every so often, knowing that I was the other woman. And he was such a manipulator that he would even have me. This is so bad, but he would even have me and her hanging out together. And I'm like, no,
wow,
this is so wrong. But for some reason, he just had mind control over the two of us. And recently, we're cool now. It's strictly business now. As I'm a content creator, and he films a lot of my paid partnerships. And he just, so we in 2024, right? Still stringing along that son's mother. He just mentioned it the other day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we still messing with each other." And I was like, "That poor girl."
Yeah, it could be some witchcraft going on in there, because mind control. Yeah, that's crazy. And so he's still doing he hasn't changed.
Oh no, because not only is he still messing with the son's mother, he's also messing with the girl that I thought was my friend.
Wow. And so did he make promises about leaving his partners for you?
No, he never made a promise that he would leave them. He would always say I don't talk to them no more. I'm done with them. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But never a promise that I'm leaving them for you. And I would really be believing it. But I do know that he is literally the devil. And it was just because of an incident that happened, and it was something that he said, and I was like, oh, you're really you're really a monster.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. And so how often did you initiate contact with him? And how often did he initiate contact with you?
I mean, we talked at that point, we were talking every day. As things started to wind down, it was more him reaching out to me than it was me reaching out to him.
Okay. And so at the beginning, so when you said, but we said when things start to wind down, because it's a 7-year period now.
Right? But it was off and on for those 7 years.
Off. So how long would y'all be off?
Maybe a couple months.
Okay, and then y'all be right back on for how long?
A year. 9 months.
Okay. So 9 months on, 2 months off. Then a year on. So yeah. And so that's I mean, it just seems like y'all was together that whole time. And yeah, so what does it say about the dynamic between the two of you? What was that telling you? Why we can't never stay on? What was that telling you at that time? Or why did y'all even keep falling out? Why did y'all just stay together?
Because he's such a, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say narcissist, because I don't know if that's narcissistic behavior or not. But if he didn't get his way, right? If I let's say he called twice back to back, and I might have been asleep, or maybe I was in the shower or walking the dog or whatever. If I didn't call him back in a specific amount of times, then I was cut off, or as he would say, you're put on punishment.
What? And you would actually come back?
Girl, like a dummy. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, my self-esteem was just so low back then. Like looking
Yeah.
back now, like girl, I would not, I would never. Like when I look at him now, I just be like, girl, boy, can you shoot this content so we can go on about our business?
And why do you choose to use him? And
Because he doesn't
he
charge. That's why. Because he
does he
does
have
not
what?
charge.
Oh, ah,
It's
it's still that still sounds like the provision thing that you were mentioning earlier.
It's not him reaching out to me. We're so a crazy chain of events. I still work where he works part-time, but he is now my boss. When I tell you there is like literally nothing, I walk in the building, I'm like, oh hey, how you doing? And I go sit at my desk. I don't say anything to him. He doesn't say anything to me. It is strictly business. We don't call each other to say happy birthday, how your mama doing, how your kids doing. It's none of that. If I need some content shot, we're shooting the content and that's it. So on, I think it was Friday, I had a brand shoot that I needed to do. We were together for 2 hours. We shot the content. All right, give me 5, and that was it. Send me the edits when you're done. And
he does
it.
he do it for free because he feels bad?
No, it's just that he's like, he said that he's just trying to get his feet back wet in the game of doing videography. And because I did ask him, I said, hey, I need some content shot. This is how much they're paying me. I can give you a cut of this. Tell me how much of this you want, right? And he was like, oh no, I'm just trying to get my feet wet. It's on me. Cool. I'm fine with that. But I don't think the devil don't have a conscience. So I don't think that he's sorry for anything that he did. I don't think that he would ever even admit what he did. Even when he had mentioned something the other day, and I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "New decade and things still ain't changed." Like I was like, "You still the same," and went on about my business. You know what I'm saying? We just went on about our business. I was just like, "Oh, dang, poor." I'm like, that poor girl. 12 years later, she's still stuck with you.
Yeah. And so at that time, did you become emotionally dependent on him? And then if so, you didn't become emotionally dependent on him.
No, this is again about like the self-esteem. So my father died during the time that we were talking to each other, and there was zero empathy. There was no support. Like if I was to have a bad day, he was not somebody that I could come to tell them. I'm like, oh, I had a bad day. Can we talk about it? Can you get some emotional support? It was none of that.
Wow. Okay. And so did you feel like you were trapped sometimes in a relationship, but you stayed out of fear of attachment, or what reason did you stay?
Because I wasn't telling people the true story of what was going on. So everybody was saying like this perfect couple, and everybody was like, oh, that's your husband. That's your husband. So I was like, oh yeah, that's my husband. That's my husband. And it wasn't. I was just turning a blind eye. You know how like you pray for a sign or you ask for a sign, and then the sign come and smack you right in the face, but then be like, it's not the sign you want. So you be like, oh, please just give me another sign.
Right.
That's really what it was. But there were 2 incidents that ended up happening. One, I had asked him to support me in something that I had going on, and his response was very demonic. And then at that point I was celibate, and I hadn't had sex in some at that point. It had been several months. I was like, you know what, I'm done with like the sex part of our relationship. And I think it had been a while. And I remember I went to his house to get help with something, and I ended up having sex with him. And after I did it, the look on his face was it was so demonic. I don't even know how to explain it, but that was the last time for me. Like I was just like, yeah, nope, I'm not doing that to myself again.
Was it a smirk?
It was a look like I did that shit on purpose. I'm sorry, can I cuss?
Oh, so basically he got you. He just wanted to use you. And that's how you felt. Wow.
Yep. And I
And
mean, I'm leaving quite a bit out because I remember there was an instance when I had fell asleep on his couch and I woke up and I saw a woman walk through the door and he kind of looked over at the couch to see if I was looking. And
mm,
I thought maybe I'm dreaming. Like I thought it was a dream. When I woke up, there was his ex-wife was in the kitchen with just t-shirt on.
wow. Was she his wife at the time?
No.
So he had her on the hook too.
Mm-hmm. When I tell you there were so many of us, and so many of us thought that we were the only ones. So we were all the other woman.
Wow. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So what stuff, okay, so between year 1 and year 7, did you ever get pregnant?
Nope.
Did you use good birth control?
We always used condoms, and I was on birth control. So it was crazy
That's
to me that the one
good.
girl got pregnant, not once but twice.
Okay. So y'all always use, wow. Okay, and that's different because people don't use those nowadays.
Mm-mm.
And so were there moments when you tried to assert your own needs or boundaries?
Oh yeah. And when I did, it was always like a gaslighting moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like his needs mattered more than my needs did.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you give me an example?
Um, gosh, that was so long ago. Let me think. I don't know. It might be like, my love language is quality time, so I want to spend, more time with you doing things. And he would try to make it seem like, why we gotta go out and spend money, da, 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 da. Like, and I'm like, I want to create memories with you and experiences. And it's like, why we can't just be in the house and chill and watch a movie? But then he'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I need you to start, wearing high heels more because I like when you wear high heels. So I would start wearing high heels more. And I'm giving
Mm-hmm.
you what you asking for, but you can't even give me, what I'm asking for. And then I would find out things like he was taking people, taking girls to here and there, and they going on trips together and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what's the difference? Later
Mm-hmm.
on, I realized what the difference was. I did not fit his aesthetic. It was light skinned girls that fit, and those was the ones that were getting the trips and things like that. And I was kind of like hidden in
Wow.
that.
That is crazy. And did you see yourself spending using your money? Because I want to know, how did he have money to afford all these women? Did you pay for him stuff, or? But you said he was getting you bags.
Yeah, he was giving me money. So he had money. He was getting disability from the military. He had his full-time job. He had his full-time job. He was getting disability. He had a part-time job, and I guess he had like investments and things like that. So he was pretty well off, making a good coin, at least for back then.
How old was he, and how old were you?
When I first met him, I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 39 now. And I think he might be 45 now. So he was in his 30s.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to know, like, when this started. So it ended when you were 32. Okay, right. And
Mm-hmm.
so, did you ever feel like he was using his position or power to keep you in the relationship?
I think that he yeah, I definitely do. I think that this was an ego boost for him. Having all of these women and things like that, it was an ego boost for him. It made him feel good. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, I, I didn't respond well because I kind of stuck around, and because I think I was more feeling like, well, this is the best I can get. Like I said before, my self-esteem was really low. And so I didn't think that I didn't really think I could do any better.
I got you. And so, did he ever make you feel like you were in the wrong for wanting more from him?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I tried to get, a little more, or get things to change. Like I said before, it was always like a flip the script kind of thing. Like, let me flip it on you and tell you what you're not doing, and
Mhm.
I'm not doing that. And he didn't. At the end of the day, he didn't have any respect for women. And one day I just said to him, on my last time talking to him, I was like, you better pray that no man ever does your daughter how you've done women.
How many children does he have?
He has two. He had a
Really?
daughter. He has a daughter with the ex-wife, and then the the girl who I told you about, she got pregnant twice. One ended in a miscarriage, and the other, he's 12 now.
Okay, and he's living with her.
Not now. They don't live together now, but I think they stopped. I don't know at what point they stopped living together. I do know he lives alone, but I think that he's still manipulating her
Where are you located?
in the DMV.
Okay. Okay, and I was just asking that because it's like y'all are still within the same proximity, you know?
Yeah, I think they're like about an hour away from where I am.
Okay. Okay. So that's kind of like the metro area down
Hmm.
here. How did the imbalance of power in the relationship affect your self-esteem and decision making?
There was no self-esteem. The self-esteem was
Hmm.
out the window. Because when I look back on the things that I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
it was more and more. The more I dealt with him, the more he was depleting my self-esteem.
Mm, mm. Well, what was the most difficult part of walking away from this relationship?
I don't think it was a difficult part. I think that
Mhm.
away. I walked like Angela Bassett when she threw them key that burnt that card. She was like, "I'm finished." That's how I was. I was like, "I'm done." Like, and
Mhm.
there was no go backs. It was, I'm done with you. It did take me some time to get over it because I felt
Mhm.
like it was traumatic. And so for me to heal, one day I said, okay, I felt like in order to heal, sometimes you can't speak about it anymore. And so I had told
Mhm.
myself for 1 year, you cannot speak his name. And I didn't speak his name for 1 year. Um,
Mhm.
and that was it for me after that. Like, I was completely over it. I didn't feel like any anxiety or anything like that when I would run into him, because like I said before, we still work together.
Mhm.
Um so after that 1 year, that was it.
And so did that help not speaking his name?
Hmm.
It helped you heal or it just helped you not be anxious?
It helped me heal.
Okay. It helps you heal. And so when did you start cuz we're talking about it now. So when did you start opening up about it?
I think this might be the first time I actually opened up about it and told.
Oh,
um I mean, of course, I talked to my therapist about it because she
right.
was who told me, like, let's not talk about this anymore, whatever.
Mhm.
But then I think this is the first time I actually talked about it, and I can talk about it because I'm not hurt.
Right, exactly. And that's good. And you don't feel embarrassed anymore.
N- no, because I think one of the reasons why so many people don't talk about this, like, it's a lot of women that are in this same situation and they don't talk about it because of the embarrassment. But sis, it ain't nothing to be embarrassed about because your grandmother did something worse. Trust me. And
Yeah,
so, you know what I mean? Because
I do.
these grandmothers was the epitome of a ride or die chick.
Yes.
My grandmother recently told me that my grandfather had 14 other children, and that he left her with the 8 children that they had together. And
Wow,
she was,
other children.
and you want to know how, and my mother found out about her other siblings because she was working at McDonald's, and her coworker brought her sister's wedding album to work and was like, "Look at the photos from my sister's wedding." And my mom said, "Well, why is my father walking your sister down the aisle?" And that's how
Wow.
my mom found out. And so my grandmother said when she used to get paid on Friday, she would walk around the neighborhoods to find the mothers of the other children so she could give them a portion of her check so they could take care of their kids.
Wow. That's
So,
crazy.
and so it was, to me, it's like, it's nothing to be embarrassed about because we've all been in a, may not be to this extreme, but we've
Right.
all been down for a man. We've all done stupid things for a man, or we
Mhm.
know somebody who has.
That's right. And so did you experience any long-lasting effects such as depression? You said you didn't have anxiety, but how long did it take you to heal? Do you see any trigger? Do you have any triggers even though you've healed?
Um, it has caused me. I have sworn off men. I do not date. um,
Oh, and I haven't since 2017 you haven't dated anybody.
no. It's that I keep running into the same kind of person, the same kind of gaslighter, narcissist, manipulator. And I was like, well, maybe you guys are all the same. And I don't, because I've worked so hard on my mental health, I don't have the capacity to try again. Like, because when it doesn't work, then you find yourself in this like, oh, it's me, now I got to go to therapy to get over it. And I kind of got almost like, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm sad over a man anymore. So the solution to that for me, this is just what I did, is I believe in God. So I prayed for the desire to date and to marry to be taken from me. And I have not had the desire to date or marry since.
That's good. And so were there moments when you regretted the entire experience?
Yeah, because I think I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of time. And I could have saved a lot of money in therapy if I would have left that man alone when the signs were first there.
So you was praying to God for signs, and you said, you believe in God. So when you was praying to God for signs, did he reveal to you what was stopping you from listening?
So yes, because what I realized is sometimes the flags ain't red. Sometimes the flags are your favorite color. And that's why you keep sticking around. And he was my favorite color. And so I kept sticking around because I'm like, oh, the flag is purple. What? Purple can't be bad.
Wow. And I got to write that down, though. Sometimes the flags aren't red. They're your favorite color. Wow.
Yep. And so there were so many times that I think what ended up happening was when the final sign was when I had walked down that street and I seen that girl and it was like, pop, let me smack you upside the head with the sign and see if you get it this time. And
so you talking about that girl who you was telling me about at first, because it's a lot of years and a lot of people who we missing out of this way.
2019 where I thought she was my friend. And by this point, I was not talking to him anymore. Like we weren't sleeping together or anything like that, but we were still spending time together. I guess we had just spent time together. But every single time I would be doing something that would be to better myself, I would get maybe a penis picture mail from him, right? And it's like, now that's going to distract me from what I'm supposed to be going to go do, right? Because now I'm like, oh, ask him, can I come over? And I wouldn't, right? I wouldn't do it. But that time when I was like, oh, like we just went out the night before and I was thinking about taking it further again. And then I seen that girl and it was like, you know what? The sign, I just got smacked upside my head with the sign. I don't need to get smacked upside my head with the sign no more.
And so where did he take you out on dates to?
That particular time we had went to, I don't know where we went. We probably went to some kind of a show, a concert or something like that time, because we didn't really, when we first were talking, we would go to like Fridays a lot, and that's where I was meeting a lot of his side pieces. I mean, not side pieces, the other women, the other.
Right.
We'll go to dinner sometimes, go out for drinks, not real dates, because eventually what ended up happening is I was becoming too cool with too many girls at the Fridays and stuff like that. So he basically was like, let me keep her in the house. And that was when it's like, we're not having the experiences that I was asking him for. Like, I wanted to be like, oh, let's go do this. It's a hot air balloon festival. Let's go. We wasn't doing none of that stuff.
Were you dating anyone else when you realized what he was doing?
I tried, but it never would work out because I was still so stuck on him.
Wow. Isn't that interesting how women are
Hmm.
being loyal to someone who's not loyal to you?
Not loyal at all, and would never even admit that he wasn't being loyal. So it was. I could go on and on because this is very much the Cliff's Notes.
Yes, yes. And so I don't know if I asked you this about the unspoken regrets, because I believe you said you did regret the entire experience. You
Mhm.
regretted wasting all that time. And so is there anything that you wish you had done differently in this relationship, maybe when you first found out?
Yeah, I wish I would have ended things right then and there. Like I wish I would have been strong enough to listen to my friends that were seeing it, and strong enough to like trust my gut when I felt
Mhm.
like something wasn't right.
Right. And do you have children right now?
I don't.
Okay. Cool. That's
Mhm.
cool. Because you said you wanted marriage. That's what you said your new prayer was, marriage and
No,
children.
I do. No, I never said that. I do want children, but thank God you don't need a man to have a baby. I don't want to be married, and I don't want to date.
Oh, but you do want to have children.
Hmm.
Okay. How does that look like for you?
What
Like,
do you mean?
like, okay, so for instance, when people have children, they imagine having some type of support to help them with the children, emotional support, you know,
Oh,
of you have who?
I have my family.
So which family members would you um want to provide that father figure for your children?
Probably my brother and my dad.
Hmm. And so do they know about these dynamics?
Oh yeah, we've all talked about it. They've been very supportive.
Okay. That's
Hmm.
good. Okay, and so did you ever feel a sense of loss beyond the amount of loss of years? And I'll ask you this because now you say you don't even want to get married. You don't even want to date, but you want to have children.
Hmm.
And you know, did this relationship cause you to lose interest completely in
No,
dating?
I think it was what came after that, like noticing the trends, and it could just be DMV men, I don't know. But
Mhm.
just noticing the trends, it's like and watching like when my friends are going through married. I have several friends that are married and probably out of the 7, probably only one of them is really happy.
Mm,
Because their husbands match exactly what I'm saying. And so it's I'm just
mm,
like I'm cool. I don't have the mental capacity to try again.
mm. And so, I want to know, did you ever fantasize about being in the primary relationship? Like, did you want to be the main? Like, did you ever think about if I was the main, X, Y, and Z, what happened? What did it
Yeah,
look like?
I did all the time. Like I imagine having like being a great stepmother to his daughter. I imagine us having children together, possibly getting married to each other. Like I really saw like a whole life for us. And it was just, I just made up this whole vision in my head. And so I would do things like, well, maybe if I did this, then maybe he'll make me the main joint. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I do. And so, how did you view the woman or the women in this instance that he was with? I know now you kind of look at it like, oh, poor thing, she's just ooh. But at that time, how did you view them?
I was so envious and I just couldn't understand like what is it about her? Like
Mm,
dress better than her, I'm funnier than her, I have a life, a social life, because for her, he was her everything. She didn't have anything outside of him. She didn't have any friends. And I think he kind of looking back, I'm like, oh, he kind of made her that way.
mm-hmm. Yeah, if she ain't had no friends, I don't think he wanted you to have no friends when you said he wanted you to stay at the house.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm. And so, did you ever wish to confront her?
I never did. Nope.
It was nothing to confront, huh?
It was nothing to confront because she not the problem.
Right. Right.
The problem was him. And so why would I just felt like, why would I devastate this girl, you know?
Right. Right. And yeah, so what was the biggest sacrifice that you made to be with him?
I I guess it would be like spending time with my friends and my family, because I would lie and do things. I would cancel plans, make up these dramatic stories about why I couldn't come to something, and it
Mm.
was just one day. I remember one day being on the way to my cousin's house. He texted me and asked me to come over, and I was on New York Avenue in DC, like probably one of the busiest. I'm
Mm.
like, let me turn around and drive my butt onto Virginia because, and call my
Wow.
girl, such and such happened, and I cannot make it.
Wow, like that has happened. Look, that's happened. Like that's happened to me so long ago, but it was long ago for you too. But it's just
Mhm,
crazy how a guy can just be your whole world. Like you just idolize this person like
mhm,
he's God. That's crazy. And I mean, to give somebody so much power as we can do is dangerous.
mhm.
Yeah, it's really yeah. And so I know that you said this experience influenced your relationship. A part of it, saying you didn't want to get married, but it wasn't just this one. It was also your observation of how other men have been acting. But how else, um, if any way else, has this experience influenced your future relationships?
I know what I'm going to deal with and not going to deal with, and not even just in romantic relationships, but I'm now like this with everything, whether it's a coworkership, a friendship. I know what I am and am not going to deal with.
Right, right. I got you.
And if
And
you
so
can't respect what I'm saying when I bring it up to you, then we don't need to be around each other.
agreed. And so looking back, what would you tell someone who's considering becoming the other woman?
Um, Anything that makes you sacrifice your self worth is not worth your time, and that's the
Yeah.
number I would say.
Hmm. And so I know you kind of mentioned just a briefly a little bit earlier, but how do you feel now about the man who you were involved with? And has your perception of him changed over time?
So I'm not involved with any men, but my perception of most men has changed, and I just personally don't believe there are very many good ones that are out there.
Hmm. And is this just because? Well, no, it's not just because of him. Uh,
Mm-mm.
After him, you've dated somebody after him, or you didn't date nobody?
No, I've dated several people since then, and all of them just kind of I think right before I swore, I mean, like the majority of them, like I would, like I may say, like it was one guy I was talking to, and we'll make plans to go out, and then when it's time to go out, I won't hear from him, and I'll keep on his phone. I mean, you the one that asked me to go out, and I'm trying to
Right.
make sure that we're still meeting up, and I wouldn't hear from him. And when I would say, like, I think we should just leave. You're a very bad communicator. I don't deal well with bad communication. And he will gaslight, tell me why you making me feel bad. You should feel bad because you're
Right.
wasting I've had multiple that were married or in relationships. There was one guy who started off really good, and then all of a sudden it kind of weird. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna fall back because I'm not gonna chase you. Like this is I don't know, I don't like it. And then he came up in my people you may know on Facebook. So I clicked on it. He's married.
Mm. So, even going back to our other question, so it seems like that relationship that you were in for 7 years kind of educated you to be more prepared, when you pursue other relationships with men, and then those relationships with them men made it seem like you don't want to date no more at all.
Pretty much. And it's there might be maybe are some good ones out there, but I'm just not willing to try it because I
Mhm.
don't want to deal with what happens when it doesn't work, because I know the space that it puts me in, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to go back to that space again.
Right. And so, yeah, that's the aftermath that you're talking about. And
Hmm.
so we talked about what you would what you would advise the person who was considering it. So what advice would you give someone who finds themselves in it?
I feel like that's so hard, but because I feel like women are still there because they haven't gotten tired enough yet, and so I would just say that it's okay to leave and you can pick up the pieces and there is something better out there for you, whether it might not be another relationship, but there's a better life out there for you, and you deserve so much better than being someone's option. You know what I mean? Instead of their number one choice.
Right. Right. And I mean, all of that was good. It was, yours was so different because you said it was many other women. So that kind of gave me a little curveball because, that's crazy. And then to stay that long. And then obviously you weren't the only one who stayed that long. So many
No.
women stayed for longer than you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And even when we were talking the other day, like as we're like setting up, we're just like, oh, this was going on, this was going on. And he was mentioning people's names. And in my mind, I was like, like you still messing with these girls.
Wow.
You still doing this to these women. I don't know who to feel sorry for, him or
that. Right. That's what I'm thinking. Cause I'm thinking that's exactly what I'm saying. Cause that seemed like something he trapped in. Mm-hmm. That's not a life to live.
And I know it's because he's been hurt before. I know his ex-wife did a number on him. So, yeah.
But like you said, you have to heal and do differently in a good way.
In a good way. But, we as a people don't really be believing in therapy. Like more of us are going, you know what I mean? We're trying to break that generational curse. But there's a lot of people out here that are not believing it, that are not believing in therapy.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And so that's all the questions that I have for you right now, because I know we're getting short on time. Is there anything that you want to mention before we leave?
I can't think of anything, but don't allow yourself to be the other woman. Don't waste years like I did.
I agree. It's not a great situation to be in. But thank you so much, Ms. Jen, for participating in this segment with us and sharing your testimony. We got to dig deeper at another time because there's a lot of stuff that was not touched in there.
Call me when you're ready, Abby. I'm ready and willing to dig a little deeper because I definitely did not give you all the tea.
Yes, and I want to know. We're going to have a part 2. So, yes, and until next time, y'all remember it's 8:45 every other Thursday for the Other Woman segment in my Facebook group, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, everywhere. All right, until next time. Bye-bye.